I'm Rizvi Hassan. I'm a Bangladeshi architect and most importantly, a Bangladeshi citizen. From the beginning of my practice, I have been exploring various roles of an architectural professional other than the conventional practices. In the process, I found myself in various places like the refugee camps or informal settlements or even the farthest corner of the Bangladesh, especially the rural context. Since then, I have learned a lot of things that architecture is not just about the visual things or the things we can measure. It's also a lot of intangible things that we should consider, and that is currently I'm working on. When we first went to the refugee camps, the scenario was quite shocking. I mean, I think people will not believe before seeing it with their own eyes, and how like a million of people can come to a place, and you need so many basic things that probably in other times we take things for granted. For example, just a shade on your head to protect your family from the rain or from the sun for a night, or even just a good toilet so that your family members can go and use the wash facility. These were missing for a million refugees for like months. Within like weeks, people built like thousands of shelters and wash facilities for all the families who were coming to take refuge in our country. It is like growing a city that was supposed to grow in years, and you see that grow in like 3 months or 2 months. All the aspects or all the need of a person in a city needs to be built within days or within months. Most importantly, there are a lot of policies that is trying to restrict these developments. This has to be temporary. The refugees cannot build here permanent, because sometimes the government will need them to be repatriated to their country. So I think it's like any other city or village, but it's just with more complexities and more restrictions. But when in the beginning, when we went there, I think we had no hope to see the future of these million peoples, or where they will go, or what will they do, or what will their next generation will face when they're being born in the refugee camp. And we see no real hope for the situation. But the thing is, with time, when we really understood them and when they really trusted us, we made friendship, and we really learned that like it doesn't matter if you are living in a place for like years, for your whole life, or for just a week. You work for it. We started working on it and really try to understand what do we need to really reflect on the culture or identity of a community who is in such a distress. In 2020, what IOM UN Migration, they reached out to us, and they already got to know about our work from before. They proposed that under their mental health department, MHPS's mental health and psychosocial support team, they wanted to create a project that really addresses the culture and identity of the refugees. There are like 32 camps, and we tried to reach to as many camps as possible. And we started knowing a lot of poets, singers, and craftsmen who were actually practicing back in their home in Myanmar. We started listening to their stories. So we thought, okay, when we design a place or we build a center for their culture and identity, we should first listen to them, and we should really first try to learn from them, because it is about their memory center. We came up with these proposals of different workshops with them, where we can actually make miniature things, and we can make the techniques or make the palette of materials that they used to have back in Myanmar. and with elderly people, with male, female groups, or children, or key leaders from the community. We had these multiple workshops. It's more like a design studio in the refugee camp. And every day we went there and made these nice things, and we shared with each other. When we are having this conversation and workshops, we found out that almost 90% of housings back in Myanmar, they used to have this nipa palm thatching, which is not very common in our country right now. We also had that before. They had this special connection with this roofing technique. Like this roofing technique, we found out more details, like how they build with wood or bamboo or any other natural material. Also, we had this restriction from the government that you cannot build permanent in a refugee camp. So everything we had to decide or select, it has to be from some nearby resource or it has to be natural material or temporary material. It cannot even look permanent or give you a psychological feeling that we are building permanent. So everything we decided, from the foundation, from the blocks that we built for the center floor, for the footing or the column, these are all modular, and these are all segmented in a way that if you need to remove this, you can remove this easily. From the cultural aspect, we tried to select all the materials that they like to use. For the roofing, for the nipa palm, we started looking for that material in our nearby places. Unfortunately, we found out that there are like big gardens of nipa palm, and we collected these leaves from them. They have a very special technique of thatching with this leaf. They make some nice pallets that can be stacked one by one for the roofing. We didn't know about this technique, but we got to know from them, and immediately what we did was we arranged other few classes where they can teach us and some of the new artisans about this technique, and this can spread and be preserved. So I can share one story, is that when we were making this nipa palette to figure out if this is going to work or not, to just demonstrate with the community, we were carrying this nipa in our hand and going through the camps one day, and suddenly a few people from the road, they started gathering and asked, where did you get this? This is from our country home. I didn't see this in our camp. At that time, we understood, okay, this is really working. When we're talking about memory center, if one material from the roofing can really connect people in such a way, when you are just walking by the road, this will probably be a very good decision to use these materials. And right now, when people go to the center, they talk about this thatching, they talk about the bamboo weavings that you see there. And it all connects to their heart. It all connects to their memory, because they have been seeing these techniques for like years, for their whole life. And all of a sudden, these are lost and they cannot see it in the camp anymore. But when you really get back these techniques, they can connect and they feel very emotional about it. We still, when you talk about this memory center, we still talk about the permanency of this place. People ask the question that, do you see this museum as a permanent thing, or is it a temporary one, or does it make them feel like they should stay here or not? The thing is, what they had back in home cannot be created here. What we can do is we can create a situation where we feel strong to go back to the place where we really belong. You cannot say for certain that they will stay here. But what will stay with all of us is the memory of making this together. I think that no one who worked in the project will forget about it. And that also teach me and teach the refugees that whether they go back to Myanmar or whether they go to some other place like Bhasanchar or some new settlement, they will feel the strength to build back. They will see the possibility, and most importantly, the importance of keeping these memories and cultural norms with them. because in the beginning, everyone questioned, why do we need to make this? Is it even a necessity? Even the community members, like these beautiful things, why do we need to preserve it, or why do we need to make this? But when we started making this, everyone understood, because you make a beautiful thing and people started gathering and people started telling stories and asking things around. And that is powerful to unite the community and to create the strength within your heart. So I think it's not about the building or the structure, it's about the strength that, or within our heart, that we can do better from this and we can rise back. I think most of the Bangladeshi people will agree that in the beginning, we had this mindset about the Rohingya refugees, that who they are. We had this idea that they are uneducated people. We had this idea that probably we cannot make peace with them, that we really cannot avoid the conflict that is coming in the upcoming situation. But right now, after working with them for 4.5 years or 5 years, I think a lot of us has this change of our mindset about hosting them. We now look for their techniques, how beautifully they can weave the bamboo and how beautifully they can work with the natural materials, because Bangladeshi people, Bangladeshi artisans have already almost forgotten these techniques because of the new materials like cement or brick. But now they have all on a sudden they have a new identity because of these projects or because of these efforts together. So whenever we talk about building something with natural material in our land now, we say, okay, Rohingya people are very good with these materials. Maybe we can arrange an online class with them where they can teach our craftsmen so that they can develop and learn from the Rohingya community. So you see, 3 years back, we wouldn't we wouldn't able to say these things about them. Learning from Rohingya, never. I mean, we would probably use this for a negative manner or something, that, okay, Rohingya people, they should just go. But right now, slow by slow, we have learned to respect each other, and their examples of creating such beautiful things has uplifted their dignity as a community, their identity as a community. So whenever we work in the camp, we see there are a lot of conflict with the host community and the refugee community. But regardless all these conflicts, all these contradictions, I think we have created some good examples that they can be proud of right now, both the hosting nationals and both the refugee community. What I learned is never to lose hope, because at the beginning, when I went to visit the camp with my colleagues, I saw no hope in that place. And people started asking the question that, what does an architect do in such a situation? Why do you need to go there? And right now I can say it very out loud and with the strength in our heart, that even if it's just for a day, the place, or just for 3 days or a week, we need to work on the better living condition. If we go to a campsite, or if we go to any place with our family, we will definitely clean that place, and we'll definitely try to make that area healthy for our children or for our next generation. So it doesn't matter if you are living in a refugee camp or in a permanent settlement. You always need to work on the better living environment that you need to stay in.